I've been a big fan of Metroid ever since 2002 when I first played Metroid Fusion and Metroid Prime. And ever since then, I've played every Metroid game except for Federation Force, but I'll get to that eventually. And during the 2000s, when we had a lot of Metroid games coming out, it became my favorite video game franchise, and probably my favorite sci-fi franchise, not including Jurassic Park. But this game, Metroid Dread, had been rumored for over a decade or so, and after a while, people kind of assumed, well, it's a dead project, it's never coming to light. During the late 2000s, I was obsessed with finding out about new games that I was interested in, and this one I had always kept my eye on, but then it just fell silent for a long time. That is, until this year's E3 Direct for Nintendo, where they revealed it, and me and my friends freaked out. Oh my god!
Yes!
Whoa! It's real! Not only was this Metroid 5 the much-anticipated sequel to Metroid Fusion, it was Metroid Dread, the long-rumored game for over a decade, for like 15 years or so. So for Metroid fans like me and others, it means a lot. But as far as the game itself, can it live up to that hype? Well, for a lot of Metroid fans, we've been waiting for a game like this ever since Samus Returns came out on the 3DS, since Mercury Steam, the developer behind that game, showed what they could do with a modern Metroid. And this game takes what it learns from Samus Returns and just makes it better. One thing I do love about Metroid that sort of made me gravitate towards it was the lore of this sci-fi universe, and that is explored in this game quite a bit. There's stuff with the Chozo, the Metroid, the Galactic Federation sending out these Emmys to investigate what's happening on planet ZDR. It's not a lot of cutscenes compared to other games and other franchises, but it's just enough to give you an idea of, like, who Samus is. And the way they depict Samus in this makes her look like a real badass. And the best part about that is that you feel like a badass as well with controlling her. Samus's moveset in this game feels very nice. They've added a slide, which comes in handy all the time. The map is fairly big, but you move through the rooms very fast because of the movement that Samus has. It's probably the most streamlined her controls have ever been. And what I like about this game is that they kind of played with the power-ups in the order that you get them. For example, you don't get the Morph Ball until much later in the game. Usually you think, oh yeah, that's the first thing I get, but this, it's a while before you get it. And that's probably due to the fact that they want you to get used to the slide. And there are a bunch of other new moves that Samus gets that I won't give away, but they come in handy during boss fights. And the boss fights are actually pretty damn hard, but they're also really cool and really fun to finally defeat. Some of these bosses are so fun that I kind of wish there was a boss rush mode. This game also gives you a lot of tools to get 100% with the items. They have the pulse radar from Samus Returns, they have a percentage for each area on the map, and you can even use markers which show up on the minimap which direction they're in. And there are some items that are really hard to get using the Shine Spark. They can be really hard to pull off, but once you do, it feels so satisfying. Again, it makes you feel like a badass because Samus is a badass. And it feels like you earned it because you learned those maneuvers. The Emmy robots that were advertised in pretty much all the trailers, they have these sections where they chase you, and there's some pretty good AI with them. They will, like, just chase you if you just even move. The one disappointing thing about them, for me at least, is that they're not really that scary. I can just run away. I think it's the fact that they're confined to these specific areas, so I can just leave the area, though the X's do block if they see you. I just never found them to be that much of a problem. They are one-hit kills if they do catch you and you can't counter them, but they never really stressed me out that much. But the Emmys do look really cool with the way that they move around. The other disappointing thing about this game to me was the music. It just wasn't that memorable. It was atmospheric enough, but there's nothing like catchy like in Super or Metroid Prime. I don't really find myself humming the tunes at all, but they do fit their areas, I guess. The way the game looks is fantastic. It's one of the best looking Switch games. It has these very detailed backgrounds with depth and things going on in the background. And the Emmy areas have this film grain on them until you defeat them. So the presentation of the game is like top notch, and it runs very smoothly. The only other gripe I have is kind of a personal one, I guess, since not everybody will have this issue, and that's the load times with the trams, elevators, and teleporters, because I have been completely spoiled with my PS5 and Xbox Series S, where I have virtually no load times on those consoles, so anytime I go back to a Switch game that has load times in it, I'm just disappointed because I'm like, oh yeah, I have to wait. I would have preferred it if the areas seamlessly connected together, but I understand why there's load times because these areas are fairly big. But yeah, I really liked Metroid Dread. It's a game I've been waiting for a very long time. So long that I assumed it was dead until this summer. I've actually played through it twice already. I've 100%ed it on normal mode and hard mode. And now I guess I just have to patiently wait until Metroid Prime 4 because I love the Prime series as well. If you haven't seen it, you should check out my video where I gush about Metroid. I did that back in 2017 when Samus Returns and Metroid Prime 4 were announced. It's one of the few franchises I can geek out over because I like it so much. Like, it's Metroid, Jurassic Park, and My Little Pony, and probably Adventure Time for me. Those are just some things that I love so much that I would love to talk about them more. I thought I would just use this opportunity to talk about Metroid Dread because Metroid is my favorite video game franchise. It's been out for about a week at this point, so if you have played it, let me know. And if you have beaten it, let me know what you thought of the ending, because that was insane. Tell me down in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.